Miami 4-5-3, 0-3-2 in ACC play. Clemson 5-5-2, 1-4 in conference. And we are underway here from historic Riggs Field. Clemson in the white kits, Miami in the black kits. Unconvincing clearance, stays in that final third. Tapped out wide for Kozarski. Tries to cut it back, unable to do so. Sari, what are you looking to see early from these two teams?
Well, I think one of the things that Coach Master prides himself on is his pressure defensively, and it starts with Endow and Canale up top. He is really going to try and press that Tiger back line, see if they can't force a turnover early.
It was interesting speaking to him earlier in the week. He talked about trying to find that identity, and it was that Princeton match followed by the Missouri match where they started to figure things out, and he determined that maybe they should press a little bit more, take some of that territory up. As this ball is popped into the area, and Clemson looking to work it away and able to do so. Nicholson leaves it off for Torrey Grambo. Miami on the heels of a 1-0 win over FAU, going out of conference for that match. That followed a 0-0 draw against Virginia Tech. A couple of clean sheets in a row entering today for the Hurricanes. Grambo, the takeaway. Kozarski trying to work it in, unable to do so. Here is that Miami press, and again forces the takeaway. And the offside flag is raised. Ken Masura is in his first season leading this Miami program, the fourth Miami head coach since the start of the 2011 season. He has quite the pedigree, had a lot of success on the Vanderbilt coaching staff. Well,
he was working under Darren Ambrose, and they went to 5 NCAA tournaments during that time and won the SEC title. So he comes with a wealth of experience at a high level, and he's done a terrific job of bringing new players to the squad to develop this team early on.
You mentioned the new players. 17 newcomers, Sari, 9 transfers and 8 freshmen for the Hurricanes.
And the key to that is those transfers. He's bringing in graduate students who have played for teams that have been to the NCAA tournament. They have that experience, and they complement his freshmen as well.
6 of those 9 transfers are grad students, so there is some experience with this Miami team. And it's totally different building a team now versus pre-transfer portal.
That's something we talked about. It used to be if you were a women's soccer coach and you got a head coaching position, it might take you 2 years to get your players in just because of recruiting, but now with the portal, it's so different.
Kozarski muscled off of it. But a lot of Miami possession for the first 4 or so minutes.
And part of this is how Clemson's coming out tonight. When we talked with Coach Radwanski, he talked about the fact that they are dealing with some injuries, and he wanted to have a little bit of a low block. They couldn't press, so they had to pick and choose their moments to attack.
And you see those numbers right there, the 17 newcomers. But listen, it's worked for them. 15 goals scored already. That's the most since 2019. And again, Clemson unable to clear out of that back third. Alarcon, who leads this team in assists, unable to link up. Here's Mackenzie Duff. Brathwaite trying to maneuver her way free. And it's muscled away by the standout freshman Jessie Kay, who has really caught the eye of Ken Masura as of late.
She's also a player that will look to get forward into the attack, just really has a terrific engine.
Manusos dodges one. Manusos clipped off of it. Will be a throw for Clemson. Now, Lenny Radwanski, 14th season leading this Clemson program. Of course, 10 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances for him. And both head coaches, New Jersey natives. It's a great state for soccer.
I mean, I think some of the best players are produced from New Jersey.
Listen, we're both biased. You know, you're from Jersey. You played soccer at Wake Forest. I'm from Jersey. I played 5th grade rec soccer, so same level.
There's a certain amount of Jersey pride, especially when you're talking with players and coaches now, just the history, and you know, you can go back to the Carney boys, Harks and Miola, but overall what's been done there across both genders, men and women, to produce athletes is really impressive.
This ball lifted ahead, and Kay unable to get there. It was interesting speaking with Eddie Radwanski about the success of soccer in New Jersey. He cited the Cosmos back in the day. Of course, Pele, that grand entrance to the United States that not only boosted soccer in New Jersey, but in the U.S. overall.
And is it something just from, I think, the fact that you have so many immigrants that have come over that loved soccer in their country, and then once again, you know, Pelé. I actually had to go back and look because I'm like, I remember having Cosmos stuff, but I hadn't been born when he was playing. And I realized that maybe it wasn't the right timing of it all, but yes, there is that history.
Free kick on the way for Clemson. Here's a look at the series history. It is close overall, but as we touched on earlier, 8-1-1 since 2014 to the Tigers.
And when you're looking at that, Eddie Radwanski, you know, we talk about the success that he's had at Clemson, but that started when he was at UNCG. He was there for 10 years. He was able to build the UNCG women's program really into one of the top mid-major programs during that time, and getting to the NCAA tournament numerous times, and really did a fantastic job. So as soon as he took over at Clemson, we knew in a few years he was going to get them back to the NCAA tournament consistently.
And he has done just that. And you see Christian Brathwaite re-entering after taking a spill. Bit of an off-kilter touch there from Duff, and a throw into the way for Miami. There's Endall, trying to leave it central. Comes out for Tobia. Clemson looks to open things up here. Pickett leaves it central, bit of space to work with as this ball chopped ahead towards the edge of the area. There is Pickett.
And Pickett's going to be a player to watch, even though she's playing that left back position. When she gets forward, extremely dangerous in the attack.
First time we've seen Clemson with sustained possession in this attacking third. Tobia tries to serve one in, and that is deflected out for a throw by Jessie Kay.
And this is something that the Hurricanes want to avoid. They have a tendency to give up goals on set pieces, and so making sure they're avoiding that long throw in the corner or a corner kick.
This ball blasted in towards the back post. Kept in play along the end line, centering feed, sneaks through, and it's in! Clemson strikes first. Anna Kastenfeldt, the first collegiate goal for the freshman.
Well, we talked about Eddie Radwanski wanting his team to be able to pick and choose the moments and sustain pressure. And this is an absolutely unbelievable effort by Manousis to keep that in play. And she's just going to put that on a platter for that left-footed finish by Kastenfeldt.
How'd you keep that in? Wow.
Just look at that touch and ability to keep it in, and a great one-time shot there to put the Tigers on top.
Anna Kastenfeldt, who had actually enrolled early at Georgia last January. Short stint there before making her way to Clemson over the summer. 58th ranked player in her class by Top Drawer Soccer. We highlighted a couple of freshmen in the Open. We did not talk about Kastenfeldt, but certainly don't sleep on her, and she shows why early. First collegiate goal for the native of Paradise Valley, Arizona. Here is Canali.
And the reality is, even though Clemson has gone up early, this Cane squad does not back down.
Well, Clemson looking to surge forward once more. And a bit of a heavy feed making its way towards the touchline. And simply a throw in for Miami. But you're right, that first 3-4 minutes or so really controlled by the Hurricanes in that attacking third.
It's something that the Hurricanes have really been in every match they played. Sans maybe that UVA game when UVA was ranked 2 in the nation. That's the only time that the goal differential was 2 goals. Every other game has been close, a 1-goal match. And as I mentioned in the open, they've only been held scoreless twice, which is massive given who they've played this season.
Oh, an ambitious effort. Will sail over the crossbar, and Foley will have a goal kick after the strike by Eleanor Hayes. Foley getting the start in goal for Miami. We have seen 2 goalkeepers this season for the Hurricanes, Foley and Gray Wilson. But as you see, Foley, the ACC Defensive Player of the Week, getting another opportunity today. Had back-to-back clean sheets entering today's match. This is volleyed forward. Canali tracks after it and unable to get there. Alarcon settles. Grambo. Alarcon, who has a team best 4 assists this season. Alarcon again, hangs one ahead, looking for her fellow freshman Canali. And Dawn out, had a toe on it, and Reason forced to launch it long.
And Miami's had a lot of the possession, and they're really trying to work the ball around and use each of those channels and then see if they can't find that penetrating pass in. A lot of the pressure is going to be on Mackenzie Duff to really try and coordinate who is going to pick up Canali as she checks off of the line, which she just did there.
Miami pleading for a corner, but it will be simply a goal kick. And you mentioned Duff, of course, instrumental for this Clemson program, the second-year starter, but Andy Radwanski calls her the rock of this team.
Well, and you have to love when your starting center back has 3 goals, including a game winner, and so much of that has come off of the set pieces for Clemson. But keeping an eye on Canali, she's a player who can receive the ball at the top of the box, turn and demonstrate extreme skill in finishing in and around the box, but she'll also check off of that line into the midfield, get a ball face and go off of the dribble. And so just being able to orchestrate how you're going to pick her up is important.
McCartney able to win that first ball, stays in that final third. Bit of wiggle room to work with. Kastenfeld leaves it back. Pickett plays ahead. Kastenfeld works it wide. And that cross heads out. And we'll head down to the Hurricanes.
You see here just once again, Manusa's trying to get that ball across. And I like that Clemson's trying to take opportunities. Can they get a ball, skip out? It gives them that corner kick. They know that Miami is susceptible to giving up goals on that. Can they get a shot off and maybe it deflects in? So they're looking to really try and take advantage of the time they have in that final third and get off opportunities.
Well, they have this 1-0 lead courtesy of the 8th-minute goal by Anna Kastenfeld. First collegiate goal of her freshman season, as this is lifted long for Kay, and will skip out for a Clemson throw. Tigers looking to claim back-to-back ACC wins, and on a night that means so much for this program, Sari. 30th anniversary of Clemson women's soccer being honored this evening. Andy Radwanski said that he expects at least 100 former players and guests to be in attendance as a part of tonight's event.
Well, it is really a storied history for the Tigers.
Here's Canali, surges into the area. Gio Canali, 8 goals this season already, and she is muscled off of it.
And it's that defense doing a good job of not just getting pressure on the ball, but also making sure they've got a covering defender. If one gets beat, there's somebody there immediately to put pressure on. And once again, 1v1, she's gonna try and get past, but that's actually getting support from the midfielder. So they're very aware of who she is, and they've done well to really neutralize her early on thus far.
Sydney Manerick won that last 1v1 battle defensively for Clemson. As Hayes lifts it long. Here's Kay, two-time All-State player out of Ridgewood, New Jersey. Another one of those New Jersey natives involved in this one. McCartney now. Kazarski. And Dahl able to settle, leaves it off for Alarcon. Pops it wide. It's a lovely ball. Played across, and that sneaks under the boot of Endall. Lovely build-up by Miami, but nothing to show for it.
And what a terrific penetrating pass with just the right pace on it to get that player running in, and really a incredible service. Tried to hit it with her right. I wonder if she kind of let that come across her body and maybe could redirect that with her left, but great series of passes there by Miami.
They've been threatening so far. Canali wins it. Canali drives one across. Zakarski loops it. Reason lost it. And it's played out for a corner.
She's got a smile on her face as she realizes it just skipped in and wasn't quite able to hang on to it. It's this deflection, right? A hard ball in, and it's just spinning. Doesn't quite time it right, but gets some help there by Manerick.
First corner of the night for either side. It's Tori Grambo to send this in. The first-year player at Miami who transferred from Florida. Does have a pair of assists this season. And Reason brings it in. And disposes of it quickly. Mad dash for it. Tobia has a runner on her left, and she missed her. Instead, we'll try to switch fields. Pickett corrals.
What a heads-up play by Reason to play that quickly. I'm still complimenting her on trying to hold her run to the ball, and she's already distributing it.
Well, as we touched on tonight, honoring 30 seasons of Clemson women's soccer, and it is a proud program. Last year, making the first College Cup appearance in program history. But you go back to that 1994 season, they made the NCAA tournament, one of 24 NCAA tournament appearances for this proud program.
Well, Tracy Bates-Leone came in and just did a tremendous job, not only recruiting athletes, but just how she built the culture that has really been the foundation of Clemson women's soccer. She was such an incredible coach. We had friends that played for her, and just how she invested in the players is really remarkable and a testament to where they are today.
And we will have the opportunity to chat with a couple of those former Clemson players on the broadcast. Carmi Landine and Sarah Burkett Kilpatrick. Both will be Joining us up in the broadcast booth, two program legends who are in attendance tonight. Tracy Leone, of course, part of that 91 World Cup squad for the United States as well. Inaugural head coach in this program's history.
It was a really great tandem of her and Ray, and then she actually kind of stepped away and they were both co-head coaches, and then the last year that they actually won the ACC tournament, Ray was the head coach. She's now an assistant back at her alma mater, UNC.
Yeah, back in the ACC, but as we touched on, they made the tournament that first season, made it for the first 14 years in this program's history, and they've also made it for the last 10 years. And a good step from Tobia to break things up.
Well, it took Eddie a few seasons to hit his stride, but as we mentioned, it's been a decade of NCAA tournaments for the Tigers under Radwanski.
There's Grambo. Flutters one ahead, and Daw settles, tapped out wide by Zakarski. Canali lifts one into the area. And Miami's press wins it back once more. Nicholson. Zakarski thought about letting it fly, unable to do so. Canali tried to link up with Kozarski, who could not stay on it.
Well, and what we're seeing Clemson do is they are trying to step and compact the field when they win it. But as we mentioned, it's really about game management for the Tigers. They've got some depth, but it's something that they can't just run and gun like they did last year and press. So we're going to see them let the Hurricanes knock the ball around at the half and really just wait for that opportunity, force them into a pressure pocket, and can they win the ball there?
Not only losing those 4 players to the NWSL draft, but 3 top players in this year's team all out tonight. So there was not as much depth as Annie Radwanski was hoping to have this season available for the Tigers. Danny Davis, Megan Bornkamp, and Renee Lyles all unavailable this evening. Canali who has 8 goals this season, 4th in the ACC, and she's done it as a freshman. Here she is once more. Canali dances into the area. Canali, her cross takes a deflection, and corner kick number 2 on the way for Miami.
And you can see just the footwork of Canali and her ability to create that little bit of space to be able to get that service off.
Corner kick number 2 for the Hurricanes. Grambo blasts this in, nodded goalward, and will sail out for a goal kick. Well, as we touched on before, we are going to be joined by a couple of Clemson legends in the broadcast booth tonight. We have Carmi Landine with us in this first half. Carmi holds the program single-season record of 24 goals, 57 points. She did it in the first season of this program's history back in 1994. Carmi, welcome back to Clemson.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been amazing being back on campus, so thank you very much.
30-year anniversary of this program's history. You, of course, part of that foundational 1994 year. When you think back to that season, what comes to mind?
Man, a whole lot of firsts. It was amazing being the first team to start the program, but it was also amazing being 20 years into female sports. So we couldn't be happier to set the foundation and set the standards, and to see where it's gone from there to now in 30 years. I mean, we made the cup last year, and we're doing fantastic. It's been amazing to see the progress in 30 years and in 50 years, to be quite frank, with the women. So, yeah, thank you very much. This has been an amazing weekend so far for us.
Well, you talk about the progress of women's sports, and you are committed to that as a director of an ECNL squad, Tampa Bay Rowdies. How has your history, both here and UConn, really added to you as a coach and what you try and do for your players?
Listen, I wouldn't be here if people didn't make it possible for us women to be athletes at a collegiate level. Once that was created, then we set a foundation. To be part of this growth is unbelievable. We have so many different avenues for females in sport, not just soccer, but in sport in general. They are our avenues now after playing. Whereas when we were playing, it was a tough transition from being on the field and knowing you were a soccer player, and that was about it for the past 20 years of your life, and transitioning into civilization, if you would. But now there are so many different routes, avenues. You can be a technical director, you can be a coach, you can be admin, there's operations, there's facilities. There are so many different avenues for females in sports. I mean, that's not even on the field. So you could talk about the trainers, you could talk about the managers. There's just the plethora of options for females today. And to see the growth and see even coming back to alumni weekend and seeing my former teammates and everything they've done in sport in general, it has been amazing. So I think we've done a huge amount in Clemson in a short period of time, relatively. But I think there's loads and loads to go.
Yeah.
Inside
Well
20 minutes to go in this first 45. Again, joined by Clemson legend Carmi Landine. And as we touched on before, you made the NCAA tournament in the first season of the program's history, which to me is an amazing feat. Did you guys expect that going into year one?
No, you know what? We had fantastic coaches in Ray and Tracy who set a standard, but we never really set expectations. I think we were too young of a program to really say, hey, this is where we're expecting to go. I think everything was so new that first year. First goal, as you may have seen, first win, first appearance in the NCAA tournament. I mean, everything was just so quick that we really didn't have time to sit back and say, hey, what are our goals for this year? We exceeded them, and I think we set a standard. And you can see it today. The girls are feeling it out, waiting for their opportunities to go forward, and I think the standard's been set.
Well, one of the things that I think we really admire about Tracy Leone was just the culture that she established, and what we at least saw from the outside of her focus on the whole athlete. What can you say with regards to your experience with her and any impact that she may have in terms of how you approach coaching?
Oh my goodness. So I came to Clemson because of Tracy.
Okay.
Flat out. I came to Clemson because of Tracy. It was fantastic. What she has done in the game has been unbelievable. What she has instilled in me in my coaching career thus far, unsurmountable. She's been, even though, we have distance between us or whatnot, I saw her this summer in Seattle. Just what she's done, like I keep all her like her high energy, her positivity, her culture, like you said, everything that she instilled in me from those early years have definitely...
Salas lifts this in. And that ball worked out of the back third. Pardon me, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying culture is huge, and you can see that in the alumni that showed. Like, we represent Tracy and Ray, and we are so blessed to be able to be, say that we were coached by legends.
Yeah. And legends. It's a family. It's still a family.
It is a family. You can see it out there in the stands. I mean, they've opened their arms to anybody. It's fantastic to see.
Well, as we talked about you were part of that foundation of this program. Now this program on the heels of a College Cup appearance. What's it like for you and for the alumni of this program to see where this program is under Eddie Radwanski?
I mean, he has done loads of work with these females. It's not just on the field, but off the field as well. Like, I was introduced to them. You should have seen the response that they gave me. You know, so he's followed with the culture, and I think that's huge. It's culture first, right? And Eddie has brought that. Coach Eddie has brought that, and you can also see it in his style of play. It's been fantastic to watch over the years grow. Absolutely.
Eddie Radwanski, his 14th season, leading the way for this Tiger program, and his team in the driver's seat now, just outside of 16 minutes to go. Here's Gallagher. Loops one into the area, comes out to Nicholson. Nicholson, her shot deflected, second chance, clears the crossbar.
It's an amazing level to play. You know, like just watching it, it's an amazing level.
And it's a great opportunity there by the Hurricanes. It's just a little too much on it. Carmi, you're still involved. You're a technical director. Do you ever hop out and show the players what you're made out of? Any opportunities to maybe?
So I haven't had the opportunity to play with the current players or anything like that, but I do currently play on Monday noon balls. So yeah, I still play.
Are you still scoring 24 goals a season? That's the question.
I'm doing the best I can.
Are you the ringer when, like if the female gets a goal, it counts as 2 and they just send you out there to put the team over?
Listen, I think hungry is a trait that you can't really teach. So hungry I have always been. Let's just put it that way.
That's a mentality that certainly served you and your teammates very well in the early years of the Clemson program, and to see where they are now, coming off of that College Cup appearance and in front today. What's this weekend been like for all of you, getting to come back and celebrate 30 years?
I mean, it's been amazing. You talk about the goals that I scored, but you think about all the players that played the ball to me. So I get to, see them all again and say, hey, thank you, because they really are the ones. If they didn't play the ball to me, I didn't score. So it's been amazing just seeing all my roommates, teammates, just people involved in it, managers, everybody. So it's been a really, really cool environment. Vibe is definitely high.
Awesome. Well, Carmi Landine, a Clemson legend, it is an honor to have you up in the broadcast booth. Thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yes, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Hey, go Tigers.
Well, they're in the driver's seat now, a 1-0 lead. Carmi, enjoy the rest of tonight's match. Miami wins a third corner of this first 45. Again, a big thanks to Carmi Landine, a Clemson legend who still to this day, 30 years later, holds the program record. 24 goals in a single season, 57 points in a single season as well.
Well, between her 24 goals her freshman year and her 19 goals her sophomore year, I'm pretty sure a handful of them were on me.
Former Wake Forest goalkeeper Sari Rose, as this ball is headed in. Miami equalizes. Set piece magic, and the Canes strike back. JJ Endaw, her first as a Hurricane.
And the Hurricanes had been kind of knocking at the door, putting Clemson under pressure, but it's here that they are able to equalize. And as you mentioned, that set piece corner kick, it's going to get lofted in, and just a great flick on by Endow, and that's tough for Reason to get to. A fantastic one-time service and just redirected to that far net and caught Reason off guard, because what a fantastic header by JJ Endow for her first goal as a Miami Hurricane.
The transfer from Duke, able to net it. However, the previous play under review, Sari. So as it stands, an equalizer courtesy of J.J. Endahl.
And this is one of those interesting things about the review. Yes, with technology, it's great to be able to get a second look, but it also throws that weird curveball in the game because now you have anywhere from 2 to 5 or 6 minutes, which is a stoppage of play that can really impact these teams, especially if they're starting to get momentum. Really, it's been an interesting way to see how coaches use this time with their players.
Yeah, some added time to chat things over as this gets looked at. Let's take one more look at it.
So it does look like there is a player in an offside position. It's not somebody who it's not who scored, but was it distracting enough to the goalkeeper that they can say that it should be called back and it was an offside?
Well, Luis Reese is our match referee. Here's another angle.
And I think that may have been number 29 for the Hurricanes, Salas, who kind of ran off of the line.
And the goal stands 1-1 late in this first half. J.J. Endahl, the native of Dakar, Senegal, who moved to the U.S., left home at just 13 years old to attend IMG Academy. Although she's a very global person. Her parents both worked for the United Nations. She also lived in Mozambique, Italy, and Sudan. Now wrapping up her college career at Miami, and she has her first goal as a Hurricane, and it's an equalizer on the road.
Well, and it's a critical goal. There's 13 minutes left in this half, but to go into halftime even really brings confidence to this Canes squad. And as we noted, Clemson was really dependent on managing the game and being able to, can they sustain an attack? Can they pick and choose their times to get forward? They know they're dealing with some different injuries. They've got some depth, but they really were hoping to kind of hang on to the half, and now it's even again.
As you just saw seconds ago, Alcaron comes off. Adriana Serna replaces her for Miami. Meanwhile, for Clemson, Tatum Short enters for the first time today. Maria Manusos comes off. Short, somebody who Eddie Radwanski is very high on. The sophomore had a big season last year, and he says she can be very dangerous for his Tigers team.
And she's another player that kind of had an injury early on and, you know, just kind of finding her rhythm, but was hoping she'd be back at full strength. You know, she's appeared in 12 of the matches, but it only started 6 of them. So once again, Coach Radwanski really having to make adjustments and figure out how he can kind of piece things together.
Well, to me, that's the mark of a great coach. I mean, you look back to last year, the plethora of professional talent that he had. It's a different team that he has to piece together here in 2024. Brathwaite lost it. Canali now keeps her eyes down the pitch, searching for Endahl, who has 1 goal already. Endahl leaves it back for Zakarski. Oh, so close to a go-ahead stunner.
And an absolute blast from the edge of the 18 for Kazarski. You see, it's going to get touched back to her, and that's a one-time ball as well that just gleams over that crossbar. But Coach Masur was talking about how important it was for his team to have experienced players, and we're seeing those players really have an impact in this match. Endahl, Gazarski, right? Can they help to stabilize the team and use that experience to propel them forward?
Aaron Sheridan just entered for Clemson. And a mad dash for it. Canali unable to get there, but a throw-in coming for Miami. You mentioned these newcomers, 17 of them. And he liked the blend that he had of the grad students who some of them have NCAA tournament experience, some talented freshmen, and the returners who he felt, given the recent struggles this program had, really have a chip on their shoulder entering this season. Here's Canali, tees one, lets it fly, and a comfortable save for Nona Reason.
Well, and if you're looking at this Miami squad, right, we just mentioned Gazarski. She's a kid who, in her career, has 8 goals and 12 assists. She played for Texas Tech, which last year went to the 3rd round of the NCAA tournament before they lost to UNC. We've been talking about Endow, who, you know, was coached by Robbie Church, who for me is one of the legends of the women's game, and just so many players that come in with experience and really help to complement the young players that are getting time.
Duff got that initial touch, but it stays with Miami. Gallagher wins it, leaves it off for Endahl. Connects with Cerna. Cerna's strike turned away. Bodak leaves it ahead, first touch for Sheridan. Gets tied up with Kay. Strong challenge from the freshman.
And every time Kendall Bodak gets the ball, she's so composed, able to spin and possess.
Gallagher cycles it around. Zakarski. Grambo. Space to send one in. She'll do just that. And it sails over everybody for a goal kick. Well, we mentioned the NWSL talent on Clemson's roster last year. How about 4 Tigers selected in last year's draft?
Well, and Hal Hirschfeld is doing a tremendous job with the Spirit. The Spirit were in contention for that Shield. They've been dealing with some injuries, but she also got a little gleam at the U.S. Women's National Team camp earlier this year as well. So all 4 players making a name for themselves post-Clemson.
All 4 of those players instrumental in last year's College Cup run. Clemson, of course, finishing ranked 3rd nationally a season ago. A change for the U, it's Grace Herron who heads on. Herron will replace Crosby Nicholson. Another one of those grad transfers after 4 years at Columbia.
Well, and she's probably got a little bit of chip on her shoulder with this game because they beat Rutgers. Columbia did in that 1st round and then lost to Clemson last year in the 2nd round.
Pickett forced to roll it out for a throw. You're right, Herron does have some experience against this Tiger squad. 2-year starter for the Lions of Columbia. Another New Jersey native, Morristown, NJ. And a sub for Miami, it's Maddie Landers. And how about another transfer, 1st year at the U after a season at a fellow ACC school in Boston College.
And we touched on that earlier about that transfer portal, right? If you're looking at this Clemson squad, they've got Christian Brathwaite, who is a tremendous player, spent a year with Kadani McAlpine at UGA and then transferred in. Castenfeld, you mentioned, she spent the spring and then was able to transfer in. So it has become the norm to really support your team with those transfers, whether it's the 5th-year transfer because of COVID, or just how NCAA has made it easier for players to transfer.
And here's a list of those Clemson transfers, and 3 of the 4 of them, Reason, Pickett, and Brathwaite, have been critical pieces of this year's team.
And Reason, of course, coming in and doing such an incredible job for them recently in goal.
Reason saw limited time at UNC. Spent 2 years with the Tar Heels.
And the reality is, if you're coming to Clemson and you're going to be trained by assistant head coach Siri Mullenix, you are going to get better. Mullenix was a fantastic goalkeeper during her time with UNC and then also with our women's national team, and is really one of the top goalkeeper coaches in the country.
Another change for Miami as Flynn heads on for Canali. And it will be a goal kick. Well, Sari, we've seen a couple of goals in this first 45 so far.
Well, this effort by Manousis to keep it in was unbelievable, and then that's going to be a one-time finish by Castenfeld. But the Hurricanes would not back down, and off of this corner kick, it's Endow with that just little redirection of her head to put it past Reason. So it's 1-1, potentially going into half here.
Just 5 minutes remain in this first 45. Clemson searching for a second ACC win after picking up its first last time out against Boston College. Meanwhile, the U trying to pick up its first ACC win of the season. It would be their first road win of the year as well, and their first ACC road win since October 2nd of 2021. So over 3 years ago was the last time that they picked up an ACC road win.
That's just that push in the back on Pickett. A little too much by Maura Flynn there.
We mentioned the NWSL earlier. Of course, Pickett's sister, Kiki Pickett, now part of Bay FC. First year of that club's existence.
Kiki Pickett's had a couple of different stints, but she did well with her time with the Courage. Was part of their Challenge Cup team, and what Sean Nahas has done with the Courage. And he's had an impact on several of the players out on this pitch because he was with NCFC for a number of years. So a young Hallie Salas.
Salas, a product of that NC Current system. Lovely combination along that left flank. And nothing to show for it as McCartney corrals it. Final 3 minutes of this first half. Zakarski. Here's Kay. Serna unable to stay on it, tries to win it back, can't do so.
And it's interesting what Coach Masur has done. So Serna's a player who had been starting up top with Canali, but started Endow and now is using Serna off the bench, which gives them a little bit of a kick in that second part of the half. So it's tough for a first-year coach. He got to come in, had the spring, but so many new players, and so still tweaking and making adjustments and finding the best combinations.
Landers muscled off of it, nodded forward. Hurin, her feet broken up by Brathwaite. Clemson looks to break. It's Toby at the controls. Pickett now. Tatum short.
And look at Pickett getting all the way into the back line. I think that's something looking at maybe this next half. Can they try and figure out how to put her into the attack more? Spring her forward.
Coming up at halftime, we will chat with both head coaches. Also recap the first half with stats and highlights. So make sure to stick with us here on ACC Network Extra. Final 60 seconds. Serna. Kay now. Links up with Serna once more. Kay able to switch. Grambo, final 30 seconds. Grambo dashes. Grambo plays it forward, and it's blasted long. Duff there defensively as Tobia hustles after it.
And we see just that slow breakout by Clemson, just haven't been quick enough in transition when they've gotten the ball into the attack. And Tobia now playing as that 9 up top for them.
And that will be the first 45 minutes. Clemson and Miami locked.
Gets reason looking at it because it was such a tremendous finish.
1-1 the score. It was the 8th minute goal by Kastenfeld. JJ Endahl, the grad transfer from Duke, netting her first goal as a Hurricane. Both of those players, their first goals at their current institutions. As we are underway, second half of action between Clemson and Miami. Tigers looking to build off of ACC win number 1, took down Boston College on senior day last time out. Meanwhile, Miami hunting for its first ACC win of the season and its first road win of the year.
A little bit of a Jersey coaches showdown. And you can see how experience has helped both of these coaches. We mentioned Coach Radwanski really trying to manage players given injuries.
This ball chopped ahead. Kastenfeld, the goal scorer back in the 8th minute.
I'm just following directions.
Here's Pickett. Space for service. Drives one in. Ball stays in the area. Came off of Kastenfeld. Salas forced to play it back and finally launched away.
And that was a good job there by Cindy Menerick, right? We've got Canelli popping off of that back line, and she stepped with her so well.
Kozarski launches ahead. A mad dash from Endahl. Can she get there? Just a step behind it. And a goal kick all the way for Nona Reason. Endahl, the goal scorer in that first half for Miami.
Miami really has had a lot of possession in that first half, and as Coach Radwanski said, he felt like his team kind of backed off and gave them too much space. So it'll be interesting to see if they're going to maybe have a little bit higher line of confrontation and see if they can't press a little bit more.
Well, they win it back in the midfield here. Brathwaite controls for the Tigers. Bruff now, the Liverpool, England native. And it's given back to Miami. Canali on the move. One of the top goal scorers in this conference. Knocks it for Endahl. And that feed broken up and cleared away. Well, we are honored and thrilled to be joined by another Clemson legend, Sarah Burkett. Sarah Kilpatrick now, a Tiger legend from the early years of Clemson soccer, as this ball sneaks across the area. And Miami looking to create something, unable to do so. Well, first of all, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, and you had a prolific career. Look at those numbers, 114 points, second most in Clemson history. What's it been like for you to be back and be a part of this 30th anniversary ceremony as Canali lets it fly and Reason's there?
I mean, it's changed so much. This one's been great because so many people came back from the original, couple years of us that started the program. So this year, this reunion especially has been such a fun time getting to see everybody again.
Well, you were here the second year of the program. We talked about how Tracy Bates-Leone had established a very good culture. What were some of the traditions that coming in and having just one class ahead of you, maybe you helped to establish or were established early on?
Gosh, put me on the spot here. I think just in general, Tracy was such an inspiration to everybody with her career. So
Canali just to sneak her way through, and it's rolled away.
So just I think just the tradition of everybody coming in, knowing what to expect, working hard. I mean, several of us knew Tracy, watched her play, and we're just so happy to learn from her and be around her. And with Ray also in the mix, brings a whole nother dynamic that she, in her, the two of them together was just so much fun.
Do you remember what drew you to wanting to be a part of the program, especially since it was a new program in the ACC? Was there something that stood out?
Honestly, I wanted to be in a program that I think I felt like I could come in and be an impact in.
Okay.
Take a look at this replay in this last foul here.
And that's a hard push in the back by Pickett and an easy call for the AR there. So it will be a free kick now for the Canes.
Miami scored off of a set piece earlier. It was from the right corner flag. This one angled off a bit to the left of that. McCartney and Grambo hover over it. It is Grambo. Launches into the area, headed away. And it heads down to Clemson, but some controversy here. Miami not thrilled. And it will be a drop ball to restart the action. So, Sarah, you were talking about your decision to come to Clemson in only year 2 of the program.
I mean, mainly I wanted to go somewhere where I thought I could come in right away and make an impact. I loved Ray and Tracy's energy. They had a great first year. And honestly, my recruiting trip here, as soon as my mom got off the phone with me, she said she turned to my dad and said, that's where she's going to be going. So I think it was just a feeling, and I think I just went with my gut. And I think it was a great choice for me.
Clemson threatening in this final third. They're unable to unleash anything on Frame. And now to see where this program has come all these years later, nearly 30 years after you started at Clemson, a College Cup appearance a year ago as this ball's popped towards short and worked out of the area. Here's Pickett. Cycles it central. And Eric now.
You've brought luck to the team here now that
they've really turned the tide since you joined us in the broadcast booth here. Headed away. Pinballed once more. Stays in the air. And finally launched away by Kozarski. All right, so to see where this program is now, College Cup last year, what's it been like for you to follow the rise of Clemson soccer?
I mean, it's been, like a proud moment knowing that, I was there in the beginning, and hopefully, the reason why some people came to Clemson. And I think that it's such a great program, and it's just amazing how consistently good the program has been for so many years now.
Miami looking for a handball. They play on. Kozarski drives one in. Endog got a touch on it. Canali leaves it off. Distant strike. Reason able to fall on it. Alarcon to let it fly for Miami. Third save of the match for Nona Reason. And a down Tiger as Brathwaite comes back to her feet. Now, the halftime ceremony, what was it like for you to be back on the pitch here at Clemson?
I mean, it brings you right back. I felt like I could go back out there and try and help the team out a little bit tonight. I have my son here with me, so it's fun to hear everybody talking to him about, it's hard for him to believe that I could be doing this back in the day. So it's nice having everybody telling him.
Well, I was about to say, does your son realize how good of a player you were and all of your accolades?
You know, we can prove to your son just how good you were back in the day. Let's take a look at some of your highlights here. Take us through these.
Oh my God.
There's an assist and then a goal.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, that's against Wake Forest.
Oh man.
3 of your
Memories.
114
Oh,
career
yeah.
points.
Yes.
Corner kick coming up for Clemson. Sails over everybody.
We're looking at that, and I played at Wake Forest. I was a year older than you, and as we were seeing that highlight, I was trying to figure out if that was actually me in goal.
I hope not.
Carmi was up here, and I was kind of uncomfortable given the fact that I think she had scored a couple of goals on me in the couple of years that she was playing against Wake Forest, so it's been a resentment tour for me of sorts.
Always a battle. All those ACC games.
Yeah.
Here's Pickett. Sweeps one towards the edge of the area.
And I'm not sure if it was the same for you, but I know when I was looking at programs, being in the ACC, it was the top conference in the country. Right now, there's 9 teams in the top 25. I mean, just the draw to play against some of those teams was impressive for me. I'm not sure how you felt about that as well.
I didn't look at any conference outside the ACC, to be honest. Every visit I took was within the ACC. So I knew I wanted to be in the ACC.
Here's Short, pocket of space to work with. Unable to link up as it's cleared away by Emily McCartney. Well, 114 points, second most in Clemson history. What does it mean to you to be that high in the leaderboard in the history of this program?
I mean, I think it's a privilege. I think it's a great honor, considering, how good Clemson has been for so many years now. Just, looking back, it's...
Bodak dances. Bodak strike. Takes a deflection and will ricochet out for a corner.
It was just so much fun. It was just so much fun.
And look at the touches of Bodak. She's so clean on the ball, and I love that she just takes that half chance. Can she get that shot off? The deflection now allows them to have this corner kick and put the Hurricanes under pressure.
Bodak has been tremendous for Clemson this season. 3 goals, 3 assists. Second corner for the Tigers. Foley able to fist it away. And here's a golden opportunity for Miami. It's Endaw surging. Tigers retreat, and Endaw turned away in the midfield. As Clemson looks to counter. Tatum Short, the Las Vegas native. Short, bumped off of it. And controlled by Grace Hurren. Well, certainly a special night for so many Clemson alumni. When you look back at your career, were there any specific moments that really stand out to you? I'm sure there were many.
I think one moment is when we were in the, I don't know if it was a semifinals or ACC championship final, playing UNC, who back then rarely ever lost a game. But we actually were up for a good amount of the game, and I'll always remember that. We unfortunately lost the game, but it was a good moment. My freshman year, when I was named first team All-ACC, was a big shock to me. I guess I just didn't even consider that, so that was a very special moment for me as well.
Well, and if you think about the year in which you were doing it, some of the top players across the country in the ACC, so a massive accolade for you to be listed with those other players, and well-deserving based on those numbers.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Well, 30 years of women's soccer at Clemson, 50 years of women's sports at Clemson as well. When you look at where women's sports in general have gone from the 90s to where we are now. What's this been like, observing it from your perspective?
I mean, even just here alone, it's changed so much from when we were here and we were starting. It was, you know, it was second year in the program. You know, we kind of just shared everything with everybody else, and just to see how much attention and how much, you know, soccer and all women's sports all around, it gets so much more attention. I just think it's so good for all the young, you know, the young athletes. We just saw there's a whole group of young athletes here, and they were sitting at the restaurant with us, and they thought it was so cool that we played here, and we're like, you know, it made us feel good because it was, you know, it is cool, and you forget that.
And there was always the stadium here because of the men, but then, you know, we talked to Coach Radwanski, he said there's now a $7 million complex that's split between. I mean, just that investment has to be impressive. And I'll ask you this, I'm not sure how it was at Clemson, but when we were at Wake, all of our gear was massive. Just largest XLs. And
We just talked about that.
I was wondering, like, was that the style, or did we just get like the leftover XLs and larges?
I have no idea. It's still big on me now, and I'm
It's like, I don't think it was that big back then.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
even looking, you know, at the picture you just had up or whatnot, our shorts were like right above our knee.
Yep.
Like, I was coaching at a high school nearby, and they saw an old picture, and they are just dying at the outfit, you know, our uniforms that we had back then. I don't know. I guess the style was just humongous.
Everything very loose.
So many advancements in women's sports, but just having better fitting gear, I think, is one of the major ones that we've seen over the past 30 years.
Oh, yeah, and I saw all those shoes in the soccer complex. I remember we'd have to, like, beg for a second pair of shoes, and we're like, come on, they got a hole in them. They're like, now I think they have multiple pairs in there hanging up in their lockers.
Canali sneaks past that back line. And another ball towards the corner flag in the way. Grambo heads over towards the corner flag. Will be a throw. And a whistle as Canali lost it. Will be a free kick for Miami in a dangerous area. Grambo readies to send this in. Grambo's ball lifted out of the area. Kay knocks it forward, and it spins out for a corner. Well, Sarah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend at Clemson.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sarah Burkett, now Sarah Kilpatrick, one of the all-time greats in Clemson history. Part of the storied history of this program. Back for the 30th anniversary of Clemson women's soccer. Here comes a fourth corner for Miami. They've scored off of one. This one, poor service. They're kept in that final third by Zakarski. She did find the head of Canali, nothing more than that.
And this is something that Coach Masur had talked about was going to be a key to the game. Could they execute in both 18s, and were they able to be conscious defensively and organized defensively, and at the same time capitalize on those corner kicks and set pieces in and around the box?
A couple of changes for Clemson as Ella Hooser makes her way on, replacing Kendall Bodak. Maria Manusos, who got the start in this one, also re-enters. Well, Sari, this must have been a little trip in a time machine for you today, having a couple of players from your era of ACC soccer.
I'll be honest, I was taken aback when we were watching the film from, '95, because I may have been that goalkeeper, so I apologize for, my guffaw there. But Yes, Clemson was one of those teams. You know, they started the same year that Wake did, and to be fair, I'm not sure what the memories are of the players, but I have a very distinct memory of this candlelit ceremony that Tracy Bates-Leone did with her team. We were at like a motel for the ACC tournament, so there was a pool, and we all had these rooms that, you know, there was a walkway around, and I'm in my room, and my best friend Mandy Risden, who played for Clemson, was like, "Oh, I gotta go. We're doing this thing," and I just remember a bunch of the Wake players looking out the window, and all of the Clemson players had a candle, and I think Tracy or Ray were saying like a nice thing about each of them, and we were just, you know, kind of like peeking out through our windows like, hey, I wish we were doing something cool like that. But no, it was interesting to play and compete against them, and then once again having a friend in the program to hear just what they were doing. And so you know, I highly respect both of the Leones, and then of course Eddie have always, you know, coached against him and worked with him, and so it's really, you know, for me, I love this program even though I wasn't a part of it, just to have, you know, shared some of those experiences throughout the years.
Hey, the ACC connections, they run deep. Listen, certainly rivalries on the pitch, but off of it, certainly appreciation for the greatness of schools around the conference.
Exactly.
Brathwaite. Bit of space to maneuver. Tatum short now. Okay, jars it free. St. George. And that's just a heavy touch for Hooser. Canali dispossessed. Hooser leaves it for Brathwaite.
Clemson doing so well to get that second player to Canali defensively.
Lovely 1-2. Brathwaite. Ran out of real estate momentarily, but it does come with a bit of space to work with on that left flank. Ball snuck in and comes off of McCartney for a Clemson corner. This the third corner for the Tigers tonight.
And it really seems like Clemson's picked up the tempo. They're really trying to knock the ball around. Can they find that penetrating pass? And this opportunity just skips off of the Hurricanes, but what can the Tigers do here?
Corner number 3 for Clemson. Towards the back post. And they will make their way to the opposite corner flag.
It'll be interesting to see here because it's a second ball. So the first ball comes in, it's going to come across. And it looks like, yep, it was a Hurricane player that just got up and above on that second ball. So it does go out for another corner kick.
Tobia curls one in, and it's brought in by Foley.
I believe you were calling that maybe we'd see a Bodak Olympico, and that ball was bent.
And Zakarski plays on for Endahl, and her cross not very threatening as Reason brings it in. There's J.J. Endahl, the goal in that first half in the 32nd minute for Miami to equalize. She was able to knot it past Nona Reason. And we have seen Kay really play well at left back. You could see why Ken Masur is so high in the freshman.
Well, and I think it's the work she does on both sides of the ball. Right there, it was an excellent read and step to the ball. And then we've also seen her, when she cheats up into the attack, she can get dangerous.
And a trio of changes for Miami. Caroline Hood, Crosby Nicholson, and Maura Flynn all enter for the Hurricanes. Kay lifted away, an unconvincing clearance. Zakarski had a touch on it, and a throw into the way. Grambo currently pursuing a master's in sports administration, the Florida transfer, where she was a 4-time SEC academic honor roll selectee. Stand out in the classroom. Grambo reads it well. Zakarski back for Grambo. As Clemson looks to break through here, one of the players who they brought on a few minutes ago, Ella Hooser, she bleeds Tiger Orange and regalia. Look at the family ties. Her mom, Sherry, one of the all-time greats in the storied history of this program. Her dad, Scott, a pitcher on the baseball team. And her brother, Nolan, the current starting place kicker, who against your alma mater, Sari, made all 7 of his extra points today.
It hurts, John. It hurts. It wasn't necessary. But yes, I played against Sherry Buter, now Hoosier, and another one of those players in the early years of Clemson that had such an impact. And you know, her daughter is a North Carolina player. We saw her come through some of the market training centers early on. You know, really been able to get minutes this year and help Coach Radwanski coming off of the bench.
I just loved when we asked Eddie Radwanski about her. He said, her family is all in and all orange.
And it's one of those things, you know, was it just she was going to Clemson no matter what? And just you pick up a great player with a family history here, and it's an easy recruiting option.
As we showed you, her mom was on the first 4 teams in this program's for Clemson women's soccer. That's one of the other really cool aspects about leaving a legacy, is that if you have a child who plays sports, they can continue that same legacy, and we see it with the Hooser family. And Clemson, of course, a proud program. There's Eddie Radwanski leading the way in his 14th season. This is a program that he's leading now, but dates back to 1994. Tonight, the 30th anniversary of Clemson women's soccer celebration. I mean, these facts and stats are just eye-popping. Of course, the College Cup appearance last year for the first time in program history. But what jumps out to me as Hood leaves it to the edge of the area. And a good slide tackle to break things up. But they made the tournament 14 straight years to start, and then the last 10 years. Consistency.
And it's interesting that it's 30 years, but I think Carmi Landine hit the nail on the head. That was just sort of the peak of the growth of women's soccer programs, was those early 90s where Clemson came on, Wake came on. A year later, you're going to get Florida State. Florida State was terrible the first couple of years that they were in the ACC, and I emphasize, terrible. They were our first ACC win at Wake Forest.
This ball blasted in, settles right at reason. Caroline Hood had just the keeper to beat and could not do so.
And that is a missed opportunity that she is going to want to get back. It's a ball that gets played in, and she finds herself wide open here. Just falls to her feet and kind of got caught underneath her and couldn't finish.
The sophomore, who does have 2 career goals, both of which came last year, unable to put her team in front. So she's tracking after this ball. Hood got her body on it, and reason settles.
And we talked about how bad Florida State was early on. They beat Clemson last year, but the first year of the Florida State program, Clemson beat them 6-0. Wondering how many goals Sarah Burkett, Carmi Landine had in that.
We'll have to dive deep into the record books there, as Manusos hangs one up for short. just over her leaping head. Eriksson has experience with the Danish U19 national team. That's intended for Manusos. Grambo, this is a risky feedback. It is given away. Johnson dances. Johnson hits it. And Foley is there. The ACC, year in, year out, is an elite conference. Sari, that's no different in 2024, and you see just how far Florida State's come now, of course, 22nd in the nation this season, but 9 teams ranked in the top 25.
Well, and the fact that it's 1, 2, and 3 is also so impressive. Robbie Church, announced early on in the year he was going to be retiring. Last year had some struggles. Wake had some struggles. Both of those teams rebounded, and really just an unbelievable season for the ACC teams right now.
Oh, Manusos keeps it in play. Manusos bumped off of it, well defended by Emily McCartney. Clemson coming oh so close to breaking through. You mentioned, of course, Duke and Wake Forest, 2 standout seasons. Virginia Tech in the mix as well. Those 3 teams picked middle of the pack in the preseason poll. They've really surprised a lot of people this year in the ACC.
Well, and it's so interesting because you have teams that are, like Duke is first in the country. They're 5-0, but they're actually 3rd in the ACC right now. Just like Wake Forest is 4-1-1 in the ACC, 3rd in the country, 4th in the ACC. So, as these next 3 and 4 games emerge, it's going to be critical points for everyone.
These 2 teams still in contention, certainly work to do, but the top 6 teams make it to the ACC championship. Clemson is 7 points back with 3 points of that cut line. Miami with 2 points sits 8 points back. Short blasted long for Ella Johnson, the freshman. And Zakarski can't keep it in play. And more changes coming. Bodek and Kastenfeldts re-enter for Clemson. And Julia Edwards, one of the captains on this Miami team, enters for the visitors.
And both of these teams looking to use the last 12.5 minutes. Can they get a push, bringing their starters back on, trying to bring this energy for the final moments?
And a clock issue. Luis Reese, our match referee over at the scores table.
And that's something where if it is tied with the last 15 minutes of play, the clock should stop on substitutions. If a team's ahead and they sub, the clock stops as well. So that's a rule change this year.
So 14 seconds added to the clock. And Eriksson will have to throw it in again, a few paces back. Freshman from California out of the IMG Academy. And here are those substitution rules. As you explained, Sari, you have to stop the clock inside 15 if the match is tied, or if that leading team makes a sub. Of course, the former applicable to this situation. 1-1 in the latter portion of this ACC duel. Hood able to chest it down. Grambo twirls it back into play. Here is Grambo once more. Gallagher tries to work that touch line, and it heads out for a Tiger throw.
think this was the type of match that we were expecting, right? We knew Miami was figuring things out, getting into a formation that they liked, players that they thought could be in the attack. We knew they could be extremely dangerous at times, and we also knew that Clemson was having to sort through injuries, and we're gonna maybe not play as high of a line of confrontation, sit more in a low block, but we're seeing both teams have successes and just looking to see if somebody can break through these last 11 minutes.
Grambo with the takeaway. Here's Flynn. Gallagher. Bit of a heavy touch. Clemson searching for a counter, though it's broken up well. Nicholson able to get in front of it. Gallagher works it central. Ball hovers around that area. Nicholson over for Graham. Gallagher ricochets out towards Hood. Marked by Bodak. Final 10 minutes in this 1-1 match.
And Clemson's comfortable right now, sitting in, seeing pressure here now, but they seem to be a little fatigued.
Clemson and Miami both set to make changes down the stretch as Manousos receives a bit of space to work with. Manousos! A stunner, and Clemson leads late.
Well, Maria Manousos has been fabulous for Clemson. She was instrumental on the first goal, keeping that ball alive with her pace and tenacity, and here we see her go at the defender. This ball is going to get played across the field to her. She's pointing for where she wants it. It's a great ball lead in, a good touch. She's going to cut inside at the right moment. Sorry, takes that with her left and just absolutely buries that ball past Foley, who was outstretched and could not get on it. And that ball is going to ruffle off of that far side netting.
Second goal of the season, and it is a special one for Maria Manousos. She scored in last year's match against Miami. She's done so again in 2024. And as it stands, it is the winning goal.
And this is where your goalkeeper, game management, can you start to really just suck some of that clock off with every ball that's played out of play.
Clemson inside of 9 minutes to hang on and pick up a second consecutive ACC win as they look to string together some results and reach the ACC tournament. Miami, though, has other ideas. Canali, her feed nicked away.
And this is where Clemson has to be composed on the ball. They've got to make sure they're able to connect.
Kastenfeld just could find it.
And that's something, that long ball in, it looks like it's on, but you've got to be mindful of your team is a little fatigued. You may not want to play that ball direct. You may want to just kind of pull it back and try and possess it, because that's what's going to waste time. And now it looks like the clock once again has to stop, because that was a player from Clemson trying to get onto the pitch right now as well.
Andy Radwanski getting an explanation. Ken Masur looks on. His team has been on the losing side of some very competitive matches. As we touched on before, the only loss they've had by multiple goals came against Virginia. They have been so close to breaking through.
And the fact that a first-year head coach can come into the ACC and be able to get some results, but also taking it to teams. We talked to him. His team's not going to sit back and see if they can get a tie. They're going to go at players, and they want to establish that system of play where they are tough, they fight, they battle. They are not going to sit back, and we've seen that today. And if you're thinking, he's only had, this part of the spring and this year, what can come of this team in the future? I think there's a ton of potential for Coach Messer.
Alarcon sneaks it across. There was an open net. There still is. Reason's down, and she is in pain, and they will stop things. Nona Reason is down.
And the last thing that Coach Radwanski wants is to see another player down, especially one of his goalkeepers. Reason's really emerged as the starter and been the leader of this team.
Nona Reason, he's down. Clemson has played 2 other keepers this season. Allie Lynch has made 2.
And Coach Radwanski did say, he has 3 goalkeepers that he feels confident with. It's just been Reason who has emerged as the starter. And as I said earlier, if you're training with Siri Mullenix, you are getting excellent training. You're going to develop. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens here.
Well, Nona Reason continues to be tended to. And we send her our absolute best. Somebody who transferred from North Carolina to Clemson, seeking an opportunity. She earned that starting keeper role.
And Addie Holgerson is a Charlotte, North Carolina native, but what that is really significant is the fact that I believe she trained as a young player with Philip Poole. Philip Poole was our U.S. women's national team goalkeeper coach for a number of years. He's now the head coach of Carolina Ascent. So a very good pedigree of player Addie Holgerson is. And so it'll be interesting to see if she's going to have to come in for these final moments.
6:55 to go. We will step aside as Nona Reason is tended to on the pitch.
Sorry, honey, it's a work thing.
Mine's also a work thing. I just need someone to cover my shift.
So is mine. Alan says your business vehicle is now covered with Progressive.
Protected 24/7, just like your home and auto.
Oh, that's great.
So dinner time's just phone time now?
Sorry. I heard that ground turkey is the healthiest poultry.
You know what? Never mind. Just be on your phones.
Nona Reason, the redshirt sophomore from Noblesville, Indiana, the starting keeper for Clemson, remains down on the turf for the Tigers. Just inside of 7 minutes remaining in this one. Let's take a quick look at the play that led to this.
This ball is going to play in. She comes off her line well, and it looks like as that Hurricane player was sliding, it took Nona Reason right in the knee there.
And as Reason is helped off, we send her our absolute best. Addie Holgerson is waiting in the offing, but seems as if Reason is trying to stay out there. And Nona Reason is up and moving. First of all, great sign to see this from her, standing and at least able to jog. We'll see if she stays in there. And she will. Nona Reason will remain on the pitch for Clemson.
And there's a good look at Siri Mullenix, the goalkeeper coach, who had stepped onto the pitch to check out Nona Reason. So now
Four saves for her tonight.
Restart will happen here.
Well, this is the definition of toughness as Reason stays in there. Miami looking for a handball. McCartney slips it wide. And Clemson blasts it away. And Foley, you see just how high up the pitch she's playing. And a change for Miami. Clock will continue to run because it's the trailing team who is making the change. Grace Huron re-enters. Cerna comes off. Grampo's ball makes its way towards Reason, and she's able to secure it. Sari, you were a goalkeeper. Not sure if you've been in situations like what Reason's currently dealing with, but what's going through the mind of a goalkeeper after, being down like that, being injured and out, remaining in the match?
Well, I think it's imperative that she's just trying to keep her head in the match, right? It's so easy to focus on the injury, but really stay locked in. And this is where her continuing to communicate with her back line, stay in it. Her use of her language will help her to stay focused. We can see she's being a little gentle on that leg and kind of limping a bit. So really need her to stay locked in.
She has 5 minutes to see this one out and secure a critical 3 points for Clemson. Grambo loops one in. Nicholson, her strike takes a deflection over to Tatum Short. As Pickett pops it.
A bunch of pressure back and forth. Launch it into the stands, right? And then at least you get a chance to get composure for a minute.
Right, you keep that clock moving. 4.5 to go. Expect to see a lot of Miami possession the rest of the way. Nodded towards Reason, and she brings it in. Let's take a look at the 3 goals that we saw. We saw some special ones today, Sari.
Well, once again, early on, it's the first goal here by Clemson. Gets played across, and Kastenfeld with the left foot just buries it. But the Canes come back. Set piece, gets it played across, and the header by Endow. First goal as a Hurricane, but it is brilliant. And then, of course, in the 81st minute, Manusos takes it herself and launches that into the far side net.
There's a scoring summary. The 2 first-half goals, it was 1-1 until the 81st minute. And Maria Manusos with her 2nd goal of the season, her 2nd goal against Miami in her career. As it stands, it's the game winner. Miami looking for a handball, and they do get the whistle.
And you got to remember, the official's always going to hold that whistle to see if there's an advantage, and determined that it was better to have the kick there.
Grambo and Zakarski hover over it. Grambo blasts it in. Reason snags it. Miami, the road struggles dating back to 2021. It's been over 3 years since the Hurricanes last won an ACC road match. They're winless outside of Coral Gables this season overall as well. They have 2 minutes to score 2 goals to try to end that streak. Right now they're hoping to just steal 1 point from this match. Short lays it ahead, and Kastenfeld just leaves it beyond the end line.
And you want Kendall Bodak to be on the ball when you're in these final moments, because her composure, just Tatum finds her, she plays it back, and then not a bad little play just to play it in long, eat up some of the clock.
Long ball from Foley, who has earned this starting keeper role as of late. Grambo drives one.
And this is where the front line of Clemson, they've got to rest defensively. They're a little bit slow getting back, but you're up 1.5 minutes left.
Zakarski, twice her cross denied. Final minute. And they will stop the clock. 46 seconds left. Back heel from Gallagher. Short, crushes it down the pitch. Kastenfeld tries to get there. Kastenfeld does have it, though a handball. And again, a stoppage of the clock. Clarice Foley will have to launch this long. The goalkeeper who hadn't played soccer the last 2 years, had an injury, and did not play last year, redshirted. Gets the start now. They need her with a big boot. She sends it forward. Gallagher. One more clearance should do it for Clemson, as it's launched ahead. Tobia applies the pressure, and on the 30th anniversary of Clemson women's soccer celebration, there is celebration in Clemson, South Carolina. 2-1, the final score.
Well, what an effort by this Clemson Tiger squad to dig deep and